Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone here tonight and call to order the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council. It is October 25th, 2022. We are starting the meeting at 6:30 in the City Council chambers of West Valley City Hall. We have 6 of the members of the City Council present tonight. We have Councilman Whetstone is on the Zoom, and we are excusing Councilman Fitsutamanu. We are also joined on the dais by Mr. Pyle, our city manager, and Ms. Kamick, our city recorder. I will now turn the time to Councilman Whetstone for our opening ceremony.
It looks like he actually hasn't logged in yet.
Oh, never mind. Okay, then I'll just do it. Would you please stand and follow with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one God, with liberty and justice.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to our minutes of October 11th. I'll turn it to the council for comments or a motion.
I move for approval of those minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those are approved. We'll now go to our awards and proclamations, and we have a proclamation, the Extra Mile Day in West Valley City, and Council Member Christensen is going to read that for us, and then we'll turn it to the council for a motion.
Thank you. A proclamation declaring November 1st, 2022 as Extra Mile Day in West Valley City. Whereas West Valley City is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists with the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And West Valley City is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And West Valley City is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And West Valley City acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America to create 550 extra mile cities in America, and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2022. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of West Valley City, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2022 to be Extra Mile Day. We urge each individual in the community to take time on that day and to not only go the extra mile in his own or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those around who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place.
Thank you.
We do that every day. Extra Mile Day every day. A motion to approve November 1st as Extra Mile Day and to approve the proclamation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to jump back one, sorry, but it looks like we have a row of young men that have come to join us, and we usually recognize them on special recognitions, and I missed you. So could one of you come to the mic and tell us
Sir Hunter.
why you're here and what school you go to, so we kind of have a general location of where you live?
So this is the Jordan North Fifth Ward, and I'm Young Men's Group, and I'm Hunter Lopez. I'm 17 and I go to Granger High School. We're just here to kind of learn about what this is. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Start early and come often. All right, we'll now go to our comment period. We will accept comment period. It is limited to 30 minutes. Any person wishing to comment shall limit their comments to 5 minutes each, and we have a nice little timer for you. Upon recognition by the mayor, you will approach the microphone. If you did not have a chance to give us your name and address on the sign-in sheet, please give it to us then. All comments shall be directed to the mayor. No person addressing the city council during the comment period shall be allowed to comment more than one time. And speakers should not expect a debate with the members of the council and the mayor. We will have time to speak after you guys are done. So we'll start with speaker one. And this is because I can never read anybody's writing.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Thought
This
my
way,
writing
Mr.
was pretty
Yeah.
clear.
Okay,
My name's Scott Scherner
thank you.
and happy to be here. I've given lots of talks in the past several years to other council members and school boards, and I did that all off the cuff, so I might stumble a little bit having to read here. Anyway, dear West Valley City Council and neighbors, I have lived in beautiful West Valley for the past 31 years. Up until recently, I have really enjoyed where we live. We have very nice neighbors. Many of them have lived here longer than us. It is a very good neighborhood where many of the neighbors come together to help each other. That is amazing and is how it truly should be. It is truly a great place to live. So what changed and what happened? Why did I say up until recently? Well, on September 18th, I received in the mail a code enforcement citation. The very next day, I met with Mr. Patino to discuss this matter with him. During the meeting, he told me that he would be sending another citation that included fines. I immediately told him to take it back. He said he could not, which I believe to be a lie. Even if there were any legality, there is not, to the citations that he is giving out. In our case, he is implementing a fine because he does not like our flowers and our lawn is not the right shade of green for him. Really? When did I ever tell him, Mr. Patino, how to live his life? Never. Why would I? His life is his business. It is none of my business. Just how we live our lives is none of his business or the city or the state. The reason I am sharing this with you, my neighbors and council members, is to bring awareness to the absurdity of receiving fines for people living their lives as they choose. These fines are unjust and unconstitutional, and they must stop today. See Article 1, Section 1. This is of Utah law that I'm reciting. Article 1, Section 18, and Article 12, Section 20. Individual freedom of choice is a defining characteristic of humanity. It is morally evil in the same way as slavery to have the state be your master. It divorces from humanity that characteristic that defines them, which is free agency. It takes away from your freedom until you end up just being a tool or an instrument or a robot of the state. This is an opportunity society. That is to say, so long as you are free, you can achieve, prosper, grow, and be who you choose to be. This glorious thing, the Declaration of Independence, the second paragraph of which really defines what it means to be an American, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure and protect these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent to be governed. Mr. Patino, when did I or the 1,200 plus other people that received illegal code enforcement citations give you consent to harass us? I doubt any of us did that. I find it very interesting that in the 31 years that I have lived here in West Valley, I have never received a fine until now. Why now, I ask? In the past 3 years, my wife and I have spent over $1,200 on various plants with a new $3,500 planter box and have put in over 500 hours doing landscaping and making changes to beautify our surroundings. Why? Because that is what we want for our own enjoyment and happiness. Our neighbors have said they like what we have done as well. Mr. Patino and any and every other government official that supports what he is doing is breaking Utah law and federal law. The Supreme Court ruled that municipalities cannot exert any acts of ownership and control over property that is not owned by them. This goes back to rulings from 1992, 1998, and 2001. I am willing to meet with any of you to discuss this further if you would like. For my neighbors, if you have a desire to form a West Valley City Committee, please see me after the meeting. Council and neighbors, I have much more to share, but I believe my time is up. Thank you. Boy, I timed that well.
Okay, speaker 2.
Mike Barkham. I can tell I'm not going to be very popular again. But the one thing I would like to say, which it was hit on a little bit in the study meeting, that we really need to think about, there's 2 sides to every story. And if you're talking to one person, they're relating the story to you, and you're talking to another person and they're relating that story to you, but they're not together, you got to think there's some not truths or exaggerations in there. There was an innuendo here 2 weeks ago that a lady made a comment that I should expect everybody to live the way I live. Well, I don't expect everybody to live the way I do. First of all, I'm a little OCD. I walk around my front yard every morning and pick up stuff. I walk out in my cul-de-sac with my little tweezers and I pick up the garbage that my neighbors throw out after they have dinner in their pickup truck. And I put it in the garbage. The one thing I won't pick up is cigarette butts. I don't use them. I didn't pick them up in the Army. I just mashed them farther in the sand. So I'll draw the line there. And people should be able to do what they want in their own yard, as long as it doesn't negatively affect their neighbors. You know, I don't have a problem with weeds in my yard. The problem with the weeds in my yard are the ones that come from my neighbors. I spend way too much time trying to keep those weeds down. And if there's one in my yard, I got a guy that comes down and gives me a hard time about it because it is there. I take pride in my house, just like the people do here. But there are some people that don't take pride in their yards. We've talked a number of times about a group of people that one of them lives one house away from me. I sent pictures in, I think, this morning. I don't know if everybody got to look at them or not. They're actually parking legal. Parked in their front yard. They can gravel up to 40% of their front yard and park in front of their house. Now, they can't park an RV in front of their house, but the big white Ford pickup that's parked out in front is bigger than any tent trailer that is not allowed to be parked in the front yard. And the only thing by them being able to put 3 to 4 cars in their front yard is they're able to park more cars on the street. So that's kind of an issue. I was in charge of dumpsters here a while back. I had a house across the street from me that cut down a tree and stacked all their branches around the perimeter of their house. I went over and said, I'll push my trailer in your yard if you'll get your friends and family to help you load the trailer, and then I'll take it and unload it. I got a definite no. The stuff is still sitting there. Another house I've worked on straight down to the end of Alice Way on King Arthur with weeds in the flower box. They got out, they mowed the lawn, pulled up the weeds. The weeds are still sitting in a pile in the flower box, and they had a dumpster one house away from them. I don't know. I don't understand. Got another house that pulled up a bunch of their weeds and just stacked them alongside the fence line of their neighbors. I don't know if they think they're going to go away or what's going to happen to them. What they think's where they're going to go, I don't know. But I've just decided with the house I might add the house that has the parking spots now in front of their house with all the gravel they put in. Gravel is code, even though I fought for concrete. They're supposed to put down a fabric barrier and a divider between the lawn and the concrete, which they have neither. A house that Mr. Pyle referred to in the study meeting with nothing in the front yard. That house was built in 1973 as a model home there. It's been a problem yard ever since 1973. And they've tore out everything on Dirt and Dog Day because they were going to redo it. They had a sewer line go bad. They had that replaced, but they've still not come forward to do anything. And I don't expect them to do anything in the near future. So thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Speaker 3.
Jim Visock. My address and everything's on the thing. I'm going to be talking about code enforcement also. Code enforcement starts at the top. When you got incompetency at the top, it filters down. When you have code enforcement officers, I don't think they should be called that. They should be called code enforcement specialists. They are not an officer. They use that for fear, intimidation, and bullying. Once again, that comes down from their leader, Mr. Morris. We'll call him by name. You have Grames, who I have heard brag about the number of abatements he's done in his career. That's wrong. Abatement is the final procedure. It should not be a thing of honor. It should be, a thing of shame. He couldn't do his job any other way, so the city had to go in and do it for him. Barnett, I've seen her at lots of events. She's a wannabe police officer. She will not sit over with the code enforcement guys. She'll be over with the police officers, yakking with them, dressed like a detectives. Once again, there's no need for them to have a badge and dress like detectives. Patino, our hero Patino. Once again, Mr. 60%. And several times he's done this. Mr. Patino's been brought here. His is poor training, but he's been around for over 2.5 years and he still doesn't know the codes properly. Once again, that starts at the top. When there's no training done at the top. That's what back in May or June, when the grass thing was happening, I said the council needed to come up with a standard. Now you guys are going to do it after the fact, but thank you. The lawnmower guy, Mr. Pyle, talked about in a study meeting. That's still a situation. The lawnmowers are still there. And in Multwit, there's also washer and dryer guys who have a lot of them in their backyard and in their front yards. And you can see them clearly from the street. As long as you can see the violation from the street, code enforcement can cite them. They can't go on the property. Mr. Pyle, your nods and winks to Mr. Morris during the meeting there is not going to fix anything. Mr. Morris's contempt while he was standing up there, hands in the pocket, nodding off while you guys are asking the questions. It's not the way a director should do it. Let's see, what's my last one on here? Employees, all West Valley City employees should respect the citizens of West Valley City. Doesn't matter what they are, and most do, but there's a lot that don't. You have a perfect example of a great, I think this is what this is, a great code enforcement employee. I believe is his first name, or Toomey Young. He should be their training person. This is the guy that's known in his neighborhood. He knows the people around his neighborhood. He's the perfect example of a code enforcement employee and what they should do. Abatements, the one thing that they also do is they charge the citizen $50 an hour for the police, or at least this used to be the number, $50 an hour for the police officer and the code enforcement ones on top of the cost of the abatement. They've abated some properties several times, and they will never get money from this one property. Marty's the guy's name. And because it's in a living trust. So it's just going to sit there. So it's costing the city not $1,500, not $1,000. A lot of his abatements have been $2,000 and $3,000. And it goes into, nothing. Now, if you read the abatement issuing, it says after a certain amount of time, if it's not taken care of, it goes back to the original fines. Well, original fine, even if it's $10,000, you're never going to collect it. Why are we not doing something? Let it put up a 6-foot fence, put his stuff behind the property line where it can't be seen. As long as it's not a health and safety issue, I agree with Councilman Harmon about that. Let them have it in their backyard. The front yards will look good. But there needs to be some serious change. For almost 5 years, I've been talking about this. 2.5 years, I went in depth about this. And something needs to change. I think it needs to change at the top and then start working down. When you put somebody there because you had no other place to put that person, this is what you get. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Number 4.
That's me. Good evening, council. I appreciate you taking the time tonight and to listen to the frustration of city members and so forth. My name is Mike Tyler. I live in Taylorsville, right on the border. However, I have a political action committee. And my main duty for my political action committee is to hold cities accountable to what their responsibilities are towards their citizens. I've gone around to many different cities, met with mayors, police, and so forth, detectives, etc. There's a lot to it. I ran for city council twice in California. I took on Southern California Walmart, and I decided no more after that because I wouldn't be bribed to be the bidding of contractors, etc. And so it wasn't, it was very, let's put it this way, very uncomfortable. So we moved here to Utah in 2006, where I thought that we would actually have a simpler lifestyle where we as citizens could live in a home, live in a community that was free from judicial harassment and many, many other things. When I started my political action committee here in the state of Utah a couple of years ago, we found out what our leaders in cities, state government, et cetera, had been really doing to us. My main point tonight is I'm very good friends with Scott and Deb and their daughter. They live on a piece of agricultural land. Okay. And I grew up in San Diego on a piece of agricultural land very similar to what Scott's was. It's rural residential. And there are different rules that apply to rural residential versus a standard residential. It's very difficult to come up with a straight across the board because residential versus rural residential is much different. When you're looking at rural residential, you have agriculture that's involved. You have things that are constantly changing. So my main point tonight is when we look at how we want our freedoms, okay, and we want our city council and how our leaders and code enforcement and police to interact correctly. And I know that West Valley has struggled with that for many, many years, as did West Jordan. I've been kind of lucky. I've had some run-ins with the code enforcement in Taylorsville. And that quickly is a story. I had a car that was unregistered, backed up all the way to my garage. That code enforcement person came into my property without my permission, said, well, we're going to fine you because you have an unregistered car in your driveway. I said, so you trespass in my yard? Is that what you're saying? And I got after her at this point in time. And so she called the police because she thought I was harassing her and she started crying. So now the police in Taylorsville were involved. We actually had to have a meeting personally with code enforcement, city manager and the mayor, et cetera, for Taylorsville. We got that squared away. That lady was then let go because number one, in that area, they didn't train their people. And just like the previous gentleman talked about, training comes from above. Okay, when we have proper management, I ran a multi-million-dollar company for many, many years, and my employees were always accountable to me and me to them, and everything rolled downhill accordingly. But they were good because I taught them proper skills and helped them to understand what their jobs and duties were. And that is what it comes down to is how are we managers because you guys are the managers for the citizens of this city. And there's accountability to that. And it's a great task to be a city council person in a city. I understand. And there's a lot to it. And I respect that calling that you guys independently took on because you wanted to make something different for your city. But we have to remember that we're all citizens of this city and we all have to be understanding of those things. So tonight I come to you not only as a political action committee person, but in behalf of my friends here. Now, in doing the research for this last number of days, I also came across an app called Nextdoor. And the write-ups on Nextdoor for West Valley City, there was about 100 of them who were upset in regards to what happened with code enforcement here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, speaker 5. Probably. I can kind of read the Sandy.
I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not here about code enforcement, but I almost was because I watched your study meeting, but I'm not now. I'm just going to let it go. And we're just going to talk about what I've been trying to talk about for a couple months. I'm here on the subject of Bangerter Highway. I live in the very corner of Bangerter South Side, 47th South, and Bangerter on the west side. So I am in the middle of the construction that's going on right now. It's been really hard. And in fact, if you haven't taken the time, go down there and look at what's happening. It has been extremely, extremely difficult. We've lost probably, well, if you're south of the canal, because the canal divides it, there's probably 5 homes left to tear down. If you're north of the canal, they haven't started to tear down. So north of the canal to 4400 South. So we're in that little corner from 36th over. We've watched our neighbors of 45 years move away. We've shed many tears. We've watched the big machine, whatever it is, that just goes like this and comes down and tears away the whole front of someone's home. I can't say it hasn't been difficult. I'm grateful that those people that had to move, we lost 27 homes or are losing them, were able to find a home. Only one was able to stay in the neighborhood, but they were able to find homes, most of them, that were more than equivalent of what they had. But that isn't what they wanted. They wanted to stay. They wanted to stay where they were living and where their friends were. The oldest people that have been moved were 86, and they had lived there the whole time. The last home that just got moved, well, they moved out, had an 86-year-old mother and her daughter that's 50 with spina bifida. So it's not an easy thing, but we're trying to get over that. We're trying to move forward here, but I get this little paper that we all get, and I just happened to be reading it, and it's not the last one, it's the one before. And I found something in it that I knew nothing about. So I would like to read it to you, and then I know we don't discuss, but I'll let you know that I had never heard about this. And I wonder if anyone else has heard about it. It is, while generally supportive of highway improvements, the West Valley City Council in December 2021 passed a resolution requesting that UDOT be mindful of potential construction-related impacts on city residences and businesses, including the acquisition of residential and commercial properties in the path of future road work. The creation of a patchwork of unusable remnant parcels, the loss of homes and businesses, and the removal of existing landscaped buffers along commercial properties. So far, we haven't experienced the commercial, although there is some south of us that goes into where the Xfinity and I believe the medical is staying, but the rental, that will all be leaving too, but they haven't done anything to that yet. The resolution further states that the city encourages UDOT to conduct a thorough assessment of any alternatives that could provide the needed connectivity with cross streets while minimizing impact to existing properties. There isn't anybody there that can answer a question when we go over, which we go over almost on a daily basis. I am north of the canal. I'm just off 4400. My home isn't going, but my neighbors are going, and I'm going to be closer to the wall. That is not fun because not only is it Bangerter noise, the airports are right over our home. So it's been really difficult for this, but I'd like to know how many people who are being affected actually even know about this resolution, because I didn't until I read it. So that would be one thing. Another thing is, I have any more information here. Oh, some of this that I wrote has now been taken care of by probably UDOT, because the homes were fine there, even though they were new, older homes. But they were supposed to be watching them, but they didn't. So anyway, that was my major thing I wanted to bring up.
Thank you so much. All right. We have 3 minutes left. Is there anyone that would like to take up the last 3 minutes, but it did not have a chance to sign in? So just give us your name and address, please.
How you doing?
So when the bottom one goes to 0.
Yeah, it's fine. This
Okay.
isn't gonna take 3 minutes. Miles Wynn, 2766 West, 2890 South, 84119. I just wanted to say thank you to Nicole Camlick for getting back to me so quickly on my email about that tree issue on somewhere near Decker Lake. Overhangs, can't see the light very well when you're coming around the corner. So hopefully that gets taken care of pretty quickly, just especially with the weather about to change. And then speaking of the weather changing, I just wanted to follow up on the potential of getting that speed study on my block done sooner than later, just so I think it gets a fair, kind of estimate, I guess, of what the actual speeds are when they do go through that neighborhood. Because when the weather changes, obviously people will hopefully slow down a little bit, as not to go skidding through the street. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to bring up is I've been trying to deal with this on my own, but it's getting to the point where I'm just not like getting anywhere really. But there's a church behind my house at 2835, 2855 West. It's an LDS church, and they have trash pickup in their parking lot in between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m. And so it's pretty disturbing. Luckily with, again, the weather changing, like I've been closing my windows now, but all summer I was getting woken, and this happens like 3 to 5 days a week that they're picking up. I don't know how they accumulate so much trash to have that pickup. I tried calling West Valley. They said it was an ordinance issue, but then they also said that because it was, a service that was being done at work, that there wasn't a lot they could do, and that they didn't have an ordinance officer that was there to police it at the time because it's happening so early. It's Republic Services, I think, is the trash pickup people. But again, I've been like trying to contact them quite often, and I have a reference number. I probably should have brought it, but they just say that they're investigating it, and that's kind of all they can tell me. But yeah, just the pickup is crazy, like the reverse lights, the slamming of the dumpster, just everything. It's pretty obnoxious. And I'm probably the furthest away from it, and it shakes my house. So I can't imagine what the people that are right next to it think as well, because it's pretty wild. But that is all I got. And 48 seconds left on the clock. Oh, if you guys need a corporate trainer, it sounds like you might. That's what I do for a living. So yeah, for your ordinance people.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now close the comment period, and I'll turn it to Mr. Patel. Did you have any comments tonight?
Thanks, ma'am. I kind of didn't want to make any comments tonight, especially about code enforcement, just because so much has been said, and we talked about it early in study meeting, and the fact that I talk about it a lot in other meetings. So I won't say much other than just to say, I look forward to the conversation. The execution of code enforcement, balance wise, I think it was Scott that used that term earlier. Might have been one of the other council members, but yeah, the balance is difficult to achieve, and it also changes and shifts over time too, depending on what changing sorts of mores or desires are. So I look forward to the conversation about it. That's all. Thanks, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Turn it to the council for any comments. Oh, excuse me. Okay, we'll now move on to resolution 22-152. Mr. Pyle.
Thanks, ma'am. This one item we have on the regular council meeting tonight is for the purpose of purchasing SCBA or self-contained breathing apparatus for the fire department in the amount of $584,870. And basically, as we talked about it in the study meeting, this contemplates the switch over of the whole system, given that our old supplier vendor is getting out of the business altogether, and our fleet, if you will, or complement of our SCB apparatus is pretty aged as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Also, there's no one to repair them. There's no parts. I mean, it's just
We're done.
over.
It's pretty done. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And this will help us have a similar or the exact same equipment as other cities so that they're more interactive and
Right.
they can help us out if we need.
Yes. And kind of tagging on that, this is also actually updated. So it's a little better than the older generation stuff that we had in terms of features and that sort of thing. So it
Okay.
just seems to be time, I guess. We've run out of other ways to approach this.
The hope is that since everyone else is using this system, that they won't go out of business like.
Right.
well,
Yeah. Which there's never any guarantee for that, of course, for anybody, but
No, but the hope is if everybody else is using it, there's
Yeah.
demand there that will hopefully
Right.
be long-term.
yeah, I was surprised that Honeywell, which is a very large and has very diverse interests in manufacturing, it just went out of the business. But, it happens from time to time. And I think Scott's right. This is another established business in the arena that now will have more business. So hopefully that helps in that area.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'll now turn it to the council for comments or a motion.
Move to approve resolution 22-152.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Kamic.
Councilman Whitstone,
Yes.
Councilman Harmon,
Yes.
Councilman Hune,
Yes.
Councilman Christensen,
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt,
Yes.
and Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We do not have a need for a closed session. So I do want to thank all of you for coming. And if you notice, we do take notes up here, so we do discuss this at a later date as well. So thank you for your comments. And we'll now go for our last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.